So in the last video we discussed about chapter number 4, right? The thinkers, belief and building. So in this chapter, in the last video, we discussed about the introduction of chapter, and at the same time we also discussed about the first topic of the chapter, that is about the Sanchi Stupa, right? Now today we are going to learn or discuss about the point number 2 of chapter number 4, that is the background. Point number 2, the background, sacrifice and debate. Now here the background here means we are going to discuss about the origin of religion practice in India, how the religion practice happened in India, right? But it is really very difficult to pinpoint the exact date when the religion practice was happened in India. But before we jump on the topic like this Buddhism and Jainism, first it's really important to learn about the little bit about the origin of religion practice in India, right? So first here the sacrifice and debate. Now these are the sacrifice and debate are the most ancient way of doing this religion practice or this in ancient India. So that's what we are going to discuss about. Now sacrifice here in literally in English meaning of the sacrifice means to give up something, right? To give up your own happiness in order to make other happy. That is sacrifice. In our daily conversation, we used to say like, I sacrifice that for you. We just normally we says like that. But here in this chapter, the sacrifice means in history, the sacrifice means yak, right? In Sanskrit term, sacrifice means yak. Yak means offer or worship to the religion, kind of religion practice that was happening in ancient India, mentioned in the Vedic texts, right? So sacrifice and debate, we all know about it, right? Different kind of debate among the different kind of major religious traditions like Hinduism, the Jainism, and then Buddhism, right? So there are different kind of debates related to it. We are going to learn in this topic. So within this topic, we have 3 subtopics that we are going to discuss about. The first, 2.1, the sacrificial tradition. Now in this, the sacrificial tradition is kind of this worship in ancient India mentioned in Vedic text. So in this sacrificial tradition, we are going to learn about the different kind of religion practice happen in ancient India, pop up in ancient India, right? So within this, we are going to learn about how the sacrifice used to perform, and at the same time, we are also going to discuss about the different kind of important deities, right? God and goddesses of Vedic age like Agni, Indra and Soma. And at the same time, we also discuss about the different kind of important traditions, right? Sacrificial traditions like Rajasuya, Ashwamitra. So we are going to discuss in that topic. And the second, the 2.2, with the changes of time and around 600 BCs or 500 BCs, there are many new thinkers pop up like this Buddhism, Jainism, and at the same time there are also Hindu texts like Upanishad. So these kind of texts which contain different kind of ideas, right, about the life after death, meaning of life, and a rebirth. So through that way, different kind of question raised in mind of the people. So we are going to discuss about that in point number 2.2. And third, 4.3, within this, the background and sacrifices, debate and discussion. You know about it, right? Discussion within and among the different kind of major religion traditions like Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism. Understood? So that's what we are going to discuss about. Now before we move to the main subtopic, first it's really very important for you to understand why the mid-first millennium BC is considered important. Now see, millennium means 1000 years, right? Now first millennium BC means from 1000 BC to 100 BC. That is first. Right now we are in this 2020 means we are in our 3rd millennium AD, right? Now here, first millennium BC means from 1000 BC to 100 BC. Right? Now, mid-first millennium BC considered in board exam. These kind of these kind of questions repeatedly asked in the board exams. Questions just like that. Why mid-first millennium BC considered as a turning point in the world history? Right? See, between 1000 BC to 100 BC, we call it first millennium BC, right? Now, if you put little bit your logic in this, look, between 1000 BC to 100 BC means in the First millennium is mid is like 600 or around 500, right? So that means the same question we have learned in this chapter number 2, why 600 BC is considered as a turning point in world history, right? So same, these are the two different questions having the same answer. The first question just asked like that, why first century BC is a turning point in world history? Or the same question is, why 600 BC is considered as a turning point in Indian history or world history? Both are same question having same answer. No, sorry, different question having same answer. So no need to confuse in the exam. If that kind of question is asked, then you need to write same answer. Understood? Now answer you need to write like that. Now first, between this period, right, mid first millennium BC, it emerged or pop up different, these philosophers or thinkers. In your textbook, they mention about this Zarathustra of Iran, right? Then we have this Kongzi or Confucius in China. Then Socrates, Plato, and then Aristotle of ancient Greek philosophers. Then Buddhism, Jainism, and many other these thinkers and these philosophers emerge or pop up between this period. So that's why mid first millennium BC or 600 BC is considered as a turning point in world history or Indian history. Understood? The first. Second, why it is called turning point? Because emergence of many new cities and many new kingdoms, as we have already discussed that in chapter number 2 about the Mahajanapadas, right? During the 600 BC, different kind of kingdoms or different kingdom in the sense we have this many Mahajanapadas. Among these Janpads, we have 16 Mahajanapadas. We have this Magadha, Kuru, then we have Panchala, then we have Tasali, then we have not Tasali, Gandhari, then Ujjain, then we have Vijay, and we have this Kosali, right? Many other these Janpads were there. There's all a kingdom, important kingdom emerged during that time. And at the same time, different cities. We have this Magad, right? Rajgir, we have this Patliputra, we have this Taksali, we have this Avanti, we have this Tosali, then we have Hastinapur and Kuru. These are different kind of cities that emerged between this period. So that's why it's considered as a turning point. Second. Third, emergence of a change in a many social life of people and economic life of people. In the social and economic life, we have already discussed in chapter number 3. In social life, we talked about this, how the social life of people change according to the different kind of texts were there in Mahabharata, Dharmashastra, Sutra. This all mention about different kind of social changes happen in ancient India between this period. At the same time, we also discussed about the changing in economic life of people. We have different groups we have already discussed about the different group of people according to the access to property. We have already discussed about this, right? So this also point prove that this mid first millennium BC or 600 BC is considered as a turning point in world history or Indian history. Not only that, introduction of iron, right, and development of coin. So these are growing use of iron or introduction of coin. Because if you remember in chapter number 1, during the Indus civilization, archaeology has never found the trace of this iron, right? And during the Vedic period, we saw the introduction of iron. And during the 600 BC, growing use of iron was there, right? So that's why this mid-first millennium considered as a turning point. And at the same time, development of coin, right? First coin to be minted was Punchmark coin. As in chapter number 2, we have already discussed about this, right? During the 6th century BC, the first coin minted in India is copper coin, right? Punchmark coin. Then it's coming to gold coin, right? And the copper coin and silver coin. Other than that, Kushans were the first to introduce gold coin in India. So these are these points prove that mid-first millennium BC is turning point in world history, or 6th century is considered as a turning point in Indian history. If that kind of question comes in 3 marks, then that type of answer, the answer like that is okay. But you don't forget to put here Mahajanapadas, 16 Mahajanapadas. If the same question, asked in 8 marks, then you need to elaborate, explain the answer in a little bit, elaborations should be there, just like I told you right now. Understood? So that is all about why mid-first millennium is considered as a turning point of world history, or why 6th century BC is considered as a turning point in Indian history. Understood? Now, the first topic of this background, sacrifice and debate, is sacrifice tradition. Now, the 2.1, the sacrificial tradition. In your textbook, 2.1, the sacrificial traditions were there. And I extra add this Vedic tradition. Why I extra add this Vedic tradition? Because sacrificial tradition means sacrifice means in yag means in English if you want to translate that it means offer, right? Worship, right? Puja to the god, different kind of god and goddesses, different kind of deities, natural god or whatever it is. Now then why it is called Vedic tradition? Because in the Vedic text, right, like Rig Ved, Samarved, Yajurved, Atharva Ved, in the Rig text they mention about the various way of doing the sacrifice in ancient India. Especially the Yajurved mention about the sacrifice tradition, methods of doing sacrifice was mentioned in the Yajurvedic text. Understood? So now it's very important to understand the meaning of sacrifice, right? Sacrifice means to offer something important to different kind of god and goddesses, right? Act of offering something precious means important to a deity. A deity means god and goddesses, right? Act of offering something important to. Offering may be this rice, pulses, animal product. Then sometimes this animal sacrifice, balichara, human sacrifice, right? Balichara, you have seen this in many Hindi movies. Balichara, and killing of animals, and then this giving blood to the different kind of this Shakti culture, this Durga, then we have this Kali, right? Then Narsimha, different kind of goddess were there, right? Different kind of this. So first, it is very important, as we already know, right, about the Vedic text a bit, as I explained you in chapter number 2. But let me recapitulate a little bit. Now Vedic period, right? Now Vedic period we consider ancient history between this 1500 BC to 500 BC we consider as a Vedic period, right? After the decline of interspecies civilization, then from 1500 BC to 500 BC we consider as a Vedic period. But see, now within the Vedic period we have these divisions were there: early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Now from 1500 to 10,000 BC we call it early Vedic period. And from 10,000 BC to 500 BC, we call it late Vedic period. Understood? You just need to keep this in your mind. Now see, now between this 1500 BC to 1000 BC, we call it early Vedic period, because between these periods, right, during this period, the Rig Vedic text, the most ancient and most popular text of India, right, Rig Vedic text was composed. And these texts, within this text, it contains different kind of hymns singing for the different kind of gods and goddesses, nature's god. Like one of the most important gods of the Vedic periods are Agni, Indra, and Soma. Right? See, this Rig Vedic text contain hymns when you're singing, right? You pray, right? Puja, in praise for deities, like different deities like Agni, Indra, and Soma. Now these three, 1 to 3, are the major important deities, nature gods considered in a Vedic period. Now Agni is a god of fire, right? Fire god. And Indra is a god of thunder, god of rain, god of heaven, right? Then we have Soma, means plant from which they extracted the immortal drink, right? Immortal drink. So that kind of drink, whoever enjoyed this drink, especially like this kings and whoever enjoyed this drink, they become immortality. Right? So that's kind of. Sometimes we also consider Som as a moon god. See, Sadawa in our language we call Sadawa, right? In Hindi, in Indian, called Somvar. Som means moon, so that is considered as a moon god. Monday, right? So it's something to do with the moon. That's why sometimes it's considered as a moon god. Understood? So these are the different deities or nature gods, very popular in this Vedic period. Now, these hymns or this mantra or chant during when they do this kind of sacrifice, when they perform the sacrifice, they chant this mantra or hymns in order to birth of sun, because sun is considered very important. You know about, right? In the chapter number 3, we discuss about different kind of this. So in this mantra was performed during the sacrifice to having the sun. In chapter number 3, we discuss about the importance of sun in ancient India, right? In this Manusmriti text, Dharmashastra mentioned about the patrilineal society, in which male dominant society, importance of sun in ancient India. That's why when they chant the mantra and they do the sacrifice, They do the sacrifice for Agni Indra Soma to birth of the sun, and the prosperity of cattle, and then good health of this community or family, and the long life of the family. So these are the kind of wish they made when they do this, when they do the puja or sacrifice for Agni Indra and Soma in ancient India. Understood? Now, the first, during the early Vedic period, between 1500 to 1000 BC, all the people used to do the sacrifice collectively, right, within the communities. Right? All they do, the sacrifice were done collectively. They do together. Later on, during this this later Vedic period, between this 1000 BC to 500 BC, as I told you, right, later Vedic period, between this period, the sacrifice were done individually, right, done by this family itself, headed by the head of the family, and with the help of this brahmanas, right. So they do this kind of sacrifice individually. This later Vedic periods, between these periods, Samaved, Yajurved, Atharvaved texts were composed of the Vedic texts. Understood? Now, things here, important things you need to know is some elaborate, this popular sacrifice were done by this king and chief, right? In order to make them popular, make them divine. What they do some kind of sacrifice. We call Ashwamitra and Rajasuya with the help of Brahmanas. So see, king and chief, right, perform elaborate means prosperous, or you can say is sophisticated or popular sacrifice, means offer or means worship, like Rajasuya and Ashwamitra with the help of Brahman priests. Now see, these two yak or sacrifice or this worship done by the king and chief. Right? Rajasuya first. What is Rajasuya? Rajasuya this sacrifice in which, if the king, right, whoever king it is, he is this confident enough, and he is powerful enough, or he is confident enough to become the emperor of the empire, emperor of the India, emperor of the all the territory. So what he do first, the Raja of that particular place, what he do, suppose he is a Raja, he want to do this Rajasuya sacrifice or yak. If you remember in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira, right? Yudhishthira, he performed this Rajasuya sacrifice. Right? And what happened? The king, he sent his troop, right? He sent his troop to all the place or all the kingdom wherever he want. Right? Then the troops include this cavalry, infantry, right, elephant, and everything. They move to the various janpads, the kingdom, and if any king who tried to stop the troop that was sent by that particular king, means they need to have a battle. The king who stopped that kind of troops, that means that he is not going to surrender, or he is not going to accept that king's authority. So what happened? They need to have a battle, right? So that particular king need to defeat that king who stopped his troops. If the king allow his troops to move inside his territory or his kingdom, that means that particular king will accept that authority of that king, and that means he need to pay tribute. So that kind of sacrifice, that kind of process take almost like 6, 7 or 1 years. Later, if the troops return to their own kingdom, then what happened? King will do the sacrifice with the help of Brahman. And once this sacrifice complete or finished, that particular king become Chakravartin king. Chakravartin king means he become emperor. He is king of the entire country, or we call it Maharaj Adiraja. He became the king of king. Right? If you remember in the Mahabharata, the Yudhishthira, he sent his 4 brothers, right, this Bhim, Arjun, Nakul and Shadev as a troop to the other country, other territory, right? So he performed this. Yudhishthira performed Rajasuya yak or sacrifice in Mahabharata. Now the another important this sacrifice is Ashwamitra. Ashwamitra. Ashwa means horse in Sanskrit. Ashwa means horse, and Meta means sacrifice, right? Now this is also a kind of sacrifice that performed by the king to prove himself as a powerful or Chakravartin king. So inside that what happened, in this process what happened? First, the horse should be white, right? First, the king whoever want to perform this sacrifice want, he did puja, so he did the puja for the horse. And then what happened? He released the horse and sent his troop along with the horse and let the horse to roam wherever the horse want. This process take almost like 1 year. So same process go over here. If whoever king try to stop this horse, that means that particular king, suppose he must be a king, he stop that horse, that means he is not going to accept the authority or accept the power of that other king. So they need to have a war. If whoever king allow the horse to enter and roam in his kingdom or territory, that means the particular king accept the authority of that particular king who sent that horse, right? So he have to pay the tribute. So that kind of process almost take like 1 year. So when everything happened, finished, then the horse, when they return back to their kingdom, then that particular king sacrifice. They kill this horse or bali charai the horse, and then kill this horse. Then when the process done, when sacrifice done, that particular king considered as a Chakravartin king, right? King of Maharaja Adhiraj. In Mahabharata, if you remember, the Yudhishthira performed that Ashwamitra sacrifice after the Kurukshetra war by the advice of this Krishna and Vedvyas, right? You know about it if you had already watched the Mahabharata. Understood? So that is all about the sacrificial tradition within the Vedic text. Understood? Now, after the 600 BC, during the 600 BC or 5th century BC, what happened? Different kind of thinkers emerged or pop up like this: Buddhism, Jainism, and then Indian text like this Upanishad text, right? So that text contained different kind of notions of idea like life after death. What is the meaning of life? Purpose of life? Is there any rebirth? Question about rebirth, law of causality, and about the karma, right? So different questions, new questions were there. So because of that, different kind of new question arise in the mind of people during that time. Understood? So point 2.2, we are going to discuss about the new question or new idea happened during that 600 BC, around 600 BC, right? Now first, Upanishad text is, now you need to know it. Upanishad text, one of the most popular Hindu texts, which mention about the different kind of new questions related to this, Atma, soul, and about like that. Now first, you need to understand the meaning of Upanishad text, right? Now, the Upanishad, literally meaning of Upanishad means approaching near or sitting near. Now, approaching near or sitting near means, approaching near or sitting near means sitting near the Guru and then listen the gyan or knowledge of the Guru, whatever he want to provide. Right? That is Upanishad, right? Text. Now, Upanishad text also called, the text is also called Vedanta. Now see, Ved means Vedic text, right? And And means finish, right? Now here it means the end of the Vedic chapter. Understood? So Upanishad, this kind of text mostly concern or consider this. They concern or they pay more attention to the knowledge of God. They are not concerned or not consider important of this sacrifice or this hymns. They are not consider. Upanishad text consider these hymns and sacrifice are not that much considered important. They pay more attention to the knowledge of God. So that's why Upanishad text, it's like the Upanishad text mark this transition from the Vedic ritual practice to new religion practice. Understood? So new religion practice happened. So Upanishad became the mediator, or Upanishad marked the transition from the Vedic ritual practice to new idea or new practice of religion happened. Understood? Now, Upanishad, right? Now, within the Upanishad, many new ideas were found. As I told you before, Upanishad, the 600 BC, show many kind of these ideas like meaning of life. What is the purpose of life? Right? Not only Upanishad, during that time, Buddhist and Jain texts also mentioned about the same question, right? Same ideas were also there in Buddhist and Jain texts about what is the meaning of life, purpose of life, right? Not only this, is there any life after death? right? What about the rebirth, the question of rebirth? So different types of these questions would arise during the 6th century BC, right? The Tibetan Book of Death. In Tibetan, we call it Pardong Thuito, right? With the mantra that used to chant by the monks in front of the dead person, right? So, or this rebirth. So these are the different kind of questions that arise during the 6th century BC, and mentioned in Upanishad texts, Buddhist texts, and Jain texts. Understood? So not only that, is that the rebirth was due to the past action? These are the many, not like that. There are many other different kind of new questions arise within these texts. So that put people in some kind of dilemma, right? So people begin to ask questions, or they became doubt about the importance of sacrifice. Is the sacrifice really important? The sacrifice mentioned here is offering of these animals, killing of animals and offering of blood to the different kind of the deities, like Balichara, human sacrifice, animal sacrifice to Agni, Indra, and Soma. So these are really important. So because of that, there are changing happen in the minds of people. So that's why it shows that kind of transitions were there in practice of religion happened during the 6th century BC. Understood? So that's why many different kind of debates, dialogues, discussion of debates and discussions were happened. Now debate and discussion here mentioned about the two kinds of discussion or debate. First, debate within the Buddhism or Jainism or Hinduism or Christianity, right? One is debate among the different kind of major religion tradition between this Buddhist, Jain, Hindu, right? These are the different. One debate mentioned in your textbook is debate within the different kind of religion, because many religion contain different kind of sects were there, right? Different kind of sects, different people thought were there, right? Schools of thought were there. School thought. Just like in Buddhism, we have this Mahayana, Hinayana, and Yajurveda. Mahayana, Hinayana, and Vajrayana. In this Islam, we have this Sunni and Shia. Right? In Sikh, we have this Dagarbra and Shwetambra. And then Christianity, we have this Protestant and Catholic. So within the same religion, there are different kind of sects were there. Not only that, in this Buddhist, inside the different kind of sect, we have this Satya, Nyingma, Kagyu, Gelu, Phambo. So different schools of thought were there within the same religion, right? So that's why debate happened in ancient India. Scholars of different schools of thought means different ideas according to suppose let me take one example of the life after death, right? So life after death was mentioned by the different scholars, right? Within the Buddhist itself, there were different kind of interpretation about life after death. So in your textbook, it mentioned about the 64 different types of sects in a Buddhism, right? Sects in Buddhism. So they discussion about the life of death or whatever it is, right? So the masters of that particular, this hat or the scholars, they try to travel from place to place and try to convince other scholars. Just like that. Suppose, let me give you an example. There is just an example: Sakya, Nyingma, and Sakya. Now what they do? They debate about the life after death, right? So if that Sakya convince the Nyingma about he mentioned his idea is more validity as compared to you. Suppose if they put a dialogue about it. Suppose if he wins, right? He succeeds in convincing his idea to him. That means he became his disciple. So through that way, that kind of process happened in ancient India. Right? Discussions and debates were there. So mostly the debate and discussion, happened in the place called this Putugashala, right? Putugashala means hut with pointed roof, just like that. Inside this, they used to hold these debates, right, about the different kind of schools of thought. They come together and they debate about the different kind of subject related to their idea. Not only that is debate within the same religion. Right? Now, there was other debate outside their own, suppose debate between this Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism, right? That kind of debate also happened in ancient India, right? In this, if you watch the Buddhist life history, there were many debates happened between this Hinduism, Brahman scholars, and Buddhism were there. Lord Buddha debates were there. See, in Buddha and Mahavir, right? They questioned about the authority of the Vedas, because during the ancient time, this Brahman, they consider themselves as the most powerful, right? So they question about the authority of Vedas. Not only that, this Buddhism and Jainism, they question about the different kind of this caste systems, social understanding according to Buddhist, according to Hinduism, the Buddhism and Jainism, right? They raise the caution, and they against the idea that put by this Hinduism, Brahman in ancient time, right? So Mahavir questioned the authority. Mahavir and Jain Buddha questioned the authority of the Vedas, and about how individual existence was decided by the Buddha, as we have decided, right? Buddhism and Jainism, they pay or show more importance to the individual. They pay more importance to individual rather than they pay more rather than just like this Brahmins. They pay more importance about this tax, right? Caste systems. They pay more attention or more importance to the rules and regulations that was mentioned in ancient India in the different kind of texts. But Buddhism and Jainism, they pay more importance to the individual, right? They say individual has the right to change or right to begin whatever he wants. Right? The bird will not decide your fate, as we have discussed about it, right? So that is all about the discussions and debate. So in this chapter, the background, sacrifice and debate, we discuss about little bit, a kind of religion practice that happened in ancient India. Understood? So the next topic we are going to learn in the next video. Thank you.